I'm going to be upfront here with you from the start. Not a fan of Dark Decider. PvP-wise, I've seen enough. And for PvP, I don't think that it's nuts. Crazy. No mouths are open. No red arrows were harmed in the making of this video. And at really like the heart of videos here, with a lot of weapons, the goal is to showcase who they're for. There's different play styles. There's some perks that you like, some don't. Others do. Sometimes there's a case for a weapon that can be used different ways. It's going to have a different feel when you start changing things around. I'm going to talk about that with what Dark Decider's giving you, but for PvP, big no from me out of the gate. There were things I wanted to try, got some of those things, spent my last 600 shards on it. I've seen enough, I'm out. This is the line, no further. And I'm going to go as far as to say, you should never use this in the Crucible. And I have receipts. I'm going to show you why. It does have a positive for PvE though. So first off, we have an ARC 720 rapid fire. I made a video about auto rifles not too long ago. Autos are feeling great. And for some of you, of course, they're not necessarily your cup of tea, but with autos, they increase the effects of the stability stat on recoil direction. Your actual and visual recoil is better by around 20% on the high end. So the high end's 100 stability. So if you have an auto with 100 stability, it's 20% more stable. The more stable that you get these things, the better they're gonna feel. On the other end, even if you have 50 stability, it's gonna feel about 10% better as far as its recoil. So it's an all-around good buff for them. Dark Decider has 6 other rapid-fire 720s to compete with, technically 5, like Chroma Rush, it's rare nowadays. Reckless Oracle, you don't really see, so that means it's really between Dark Decider, Crate, Sweet Sorrow, and Arctic Haze. Haze is another one, sees no play, so we can keep narrowing it down if we want. Stat-wise, compared to these rapid-fires, it's group. Dark Decider has 25 range, kind of average for the frame. Crate has 33, 8 more stat points. 49 stability, this is the second lowest of the 6. Crate has 58, 9 more stat points. 39 handling, second lowest. Crate has 44, 5 more. 46 reload, the lowest of the 720s. Crate has 53, Crate has 7 more points. Aim assist of 72, that is the lowest of all of these. Crate 78, 6 more points. Recoil direction of 43, horrible stat. So I kept comparing it to just one other 720 Crate, and that's just one of them. Crate has 35 more total stat points on the weapon than Dark Decider. 35. Keep that in mind as I go on here. It's not off to the best of starts, but sometimes combinations, perks are gonna help, right? When you look at these perks here, it has things like Iron Reach, good, it needs it. Iron Grip, good, it needs it. Rangefinder, good, it needs it. But even these, they almost hurt it more than they help it. In 1 second here, I'm gonna come right back to these perks, but for the barrels, poor recoil direction. So you're gonna have an option of 2 when it drops. 3 ways to look at it. Number 1, the best stat points. Overall stat points without penalty, so hammer, poly, small bore. Number 2, if you get a recoil direction barrel, other than arrowhead, you would put on a counterbalance mod. Because the stat is so low, even getting it up off of the curve is gonna be better. And number 3 is arrowhead with a counterbalance mod. So if you use a barrel that does not give recoil direction help, small bore, polygonal, hammer forge, do not put on a counterbalance mod. It's so low that getting the stat higher to put it up to 58 is actually going to be worse off. But if you do get a recoil direction barrel or arrowhead, put one on. Magazine, PvP, accurized. Otherwise, we do have the Vice Stinger trait. Anything works for PvE, including mag options like appended. For the perks, third column, auto-loading. I mean, not so much. Offhand strike. This is more SMG oriented, sidearm oriented, closer range. 720s are technically like a hybrid SMG AR. You get a kill. It's going to add more range, stability, and accuracy when firing from the hip. So with the perk options, it actually has some play. Not the first choice though. Subsistence, it's in a weird spot. Specifically for PvE, it has the Vice Stinger trait. And there's really only one perk to pair in the second column, and it doesn't really play well with that perk. Dynamic Sway, pound for pound, one of the best, technically. As soon as you fire, it ramps up perk benefits. At 0.6 seconds, it's at max benefit, so massive accuracy gains. Dynamic Sway is one of the very few perks in the game that just flat out gives accuracy while playing the game that doesn't require a kill trigger, like heating up or something like that. So it's always good, massive on a weapon. And then plus 10 stability. We have Iron Grip. I've said it in every single Iron Banner review that I've ever done. There have been very few weapons. Multi-Mach is an example where these types of perks are beneficial, but 9 out of 10 times, it's a novelty and a bad choice. This is one of them. Plus 20 stability, negative 30 reload. So in total, you're losing 10 stat points on something that's already behind 30, 40 points behind other weapons. Like in the scenario earlier, Dark Decider's already the second lowest stability, and you're trying to make up for it, but now Crate has 45 total stat points over it. That's a lot of stat points. It takes the stability from 49 to 69, reload goes to 16. That's kind of okay because you have Vice Stinger, but overall, like, not okay. Feels bad. A novelty. Well-rounded, honestly, it's kind of a play because of its perk pool. I'm going to get to it a little bit later. Throwing a nade or hitting a target with a charged melee grants plus 10 range, stability, and handling. It goes to ×2. That's good for it. One of the safer options for it. Fourth column, Volt Shot. In reality, it's the only reason to go for this thing. You guys probably know that. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more later on, about perk combinations in that section. It's an arc AR, and that's something that we don't have. But even then, there's a stipulation. Gut Shot, it got buffed for AR, so you're losing aim assist, dealing 21 to the head, 17 to the body. I would stay away. Iron Reach, again, a novelty, plus 20 range, negative 30 stability. Range is 45, stability is 19. And again, like, it's really important to compare it to some other ones on how bad that it is. Because 45 range is equaled on crate if you have small bore and ricochet rounds. And then you have, wait for it, 75 stability. The same range fall off, 56 more stability. You tell me, Golden Tricorn, one of the better options. Remember, 50% more damage for 7 seconds after a kill. You can go to 50% if you land an ability in that window. Dragonfly, at least now it has a Dragonfly spec. It has Vice Stinger, not the best, not the worst. And then Rangefinder, the only 720 with Rangefinder, I'm not excited about it. I wouldn't be baited by it, I wouldn't be enticed by it. Because I said earlier, Iron Reach, awesome. Rangefinder, good, like it needs it. But here's what happens with these perks. When you add on Rangefinder to Dark Decider, 25 range, 49 stability, 24.7 meter fall off with a 16 zoom. For crate, let's add on small bore, a barrel, 16 zoom 2, 40 range, 65 stability, 24.76 fall off. It technically outranges it, but it's like the same, 0.74, 0.76. That's how bad this weapon is. And then Iron Reach, it gets it down to 19 stability. Other 720s get to that range and can have more than 50 stability than it. Like, it's bad. Calling out Iron Grip again. Like, at this point, just use Teraba. It's the same zoom level. You might be thinking, well, let's put together Iron Grip and Iron Reach. Cool, 45 range, 39 stability. It's still a net loss of 20 stat points. It's terrible. Furthermore, I haven't talked about it. We have a craftable Arc Rapid Fire, Sweet Sorrow. This is a 17 zoom. So not only is Dark Decider incredibly behind, it's always going to be when something else has a zoom factor. All that extra work to bring it up to par, and it's gonna have worse stats. It's gonna feel worse. It's gonna perform worse. I have this one set up with 50 range, 60 stability. Tap the trigger gets it to 100 stability. Killing Wind adds 20 range after a kill. It's just straight up better. Like I said, there isn't a world I would recommend ever using this in the Crucible. If you like it, cool, you do you, use it. But the time that we spend on this game, you're playing Iron Banner. This season, the main thing is gonna be the armor. Maybe you're playing Iron Banner, that's fine, they're gonna drop, see how it goes. Otherwise, spend that time on Sweet Sorrow if you want an arc. 720 for PvP. And then we have our vaults. Don't let this thing sit in your vault. I wouldn't do that. So for the Crucible, that leaves Small Bore, Accurized, Ranged Masterwork, Dynamic Sway, Rangefinder, for 29 meters of range. You need to land 5 out of 5. And this can be met by other 720s, and these 720s are actually going to have perks on them. So that leaves one final thing, and one thing only, in my opinion, that's a Volt Shot. A lot of you probably know that, but even then, it gets even more narrowed. You need to reload for Volt Shot, so like Subsistence with the Vice trait won't really feel right, won't work right. In reality, anything paired with Volt Shot, like well-rounded dynamic anything, because you're using it for Volt Shot. If Subsistence falls, it falls. But even here, like, if you want arc shields at a distance, Volt Shot, Tarnished Metal. If you want mid-range, Ikelos. It's like the new king of the space. Brigand's Law for short to medium range. A monster. I crafted 2 Brigand's Laws. They're better overall in that space. So there is one thing left. We've narrowed it down even more. You want an arc auto rifle for champions. That's the sole reason. A champion stunning auto rifle with Volt Shot. Long and short. Sure, there's things like Subsistence Dragonfly. You're going to have fun with that. It's going to be a good, like, general activity weapon. But the champion stunning auto rifle with Volt Shot, that's who this thing is for, and that only. If that's you, fortunately, other perks don't really matter with the perk pool that it has. So it's narrowed down to a 1 out of 6 chance when it drops, you're going to be able to use it. So overall, this thing's like 90% worthless, 10% has a use case. And some of you are going to find value in that use case. But mostly, this thing's flat out terrible. If you're new here, remember to hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed, thank you so much for your support. Let's talk about Dark Decider down below. Talk about the new game mode if you like. Are there any rules for the Crucible that you are enjoying that's straight up better than anything that you've ever used? It is now a staple. You're using it going forward. And I stopped focusing them because, like I said, there's nothing for me here. I'm going to fall into Volt Shot if I fall into Volt Shot. Like, if it falls, great. If not, we got the Ikelos, we got the Tarnished Metal, we got the Brigand's Law. I'll be okay. But if you've used it for PvE, how's it performing? Let's talk about it down below. Thank you for watching, and until the next one, I am CoolGuy.